Mr. Speaker, sir, I support the motion as amended by my colleague, Mr. Leong Man Wai. PSP absolutely agrees that a whole-of-society approach is needed to build a Singapore that is made for families. However, PSP believes that without new policy ideas or major policy shifts, we will not be able to adequately support the marriage and parenthood aspirations of Singaporeans, or reverse or stabilize the decline in TFR that we have seen over the last few decades. That is why we have raised an amendment to the motion today to call for a reimagination of the current policies which, in our view, have not been enough. For those who do not wish to have children, we should respect their personal choice. But for those who wish to have children, there are things that government can do to lower the barriers and reduce the obstacles in their way. One key concern of potential parents is the cost of raising children. If our young people are struggling with the cost of living, it will dissuade them from having children, which will further add to their financial burden. As the cost of living issue has been raised in this House many times before, I will today simply repeat the major calls PSP has made previously to reduce cost of living. 1. Reduce GST back to 7% and exempt basic necessities. 2. Pricing HDB flats without land costs unless sold in the resale market. 3. Manage property prices and rents, and in particular, reduce rents at hawker centres. And 4. Medishield Life premiums to be paid by government. Another area of concern is jobs. Young people are naturally concerned about whether having children will affect their jobs and career progression. My colleague, Mr. Leong, has already spoken about job sharing. I will speak on improving the attitude of employers towards their employees having children. For employers, their manpower situation is adversely impacted when employees take maternity or paternity leave. There is therefore a potential conflict of interest of society and the interest of employers. We need to implement measures to instead align the interests of employers to the interest of society. PSP urges the government to introduce incentives for employers with family-friendly policies and environment. While we exercise control over our dependence on foreign manpower at the national level, we can tilt the balance towards family-friendly employers by giving them relatively higher access to foreign manpower. For example, one way is to give additional quota or campus points. To illustrate, we can reduce the quota for S-Pass from 10% to, say, 9% for all employers and give additional quotas to employers with employees going on parental leave. If the total parental leave taken by the employees is 30 weeks, then the employer can be entitled to the additional quota for 60 weeks to more than compensate them for the loss in manpower. Employers may be incentivized to introduce policies and environment for better work-life balance so that their employees have more time and energy to socialize, meet their better halves, form families, and carry out parental duties. For Singaporeans to be more receptive to foreigners, Singaporeans must be able to see that the participation of foreigners in our economy improves their quality of life. I will move on next to housing. PSP has proposed the affordable home scheme to deal with the high cost of housing. But another key impediment to raise our TFR is the long waiting time for a HDB flat, as has also been pointed out by the Honourable Member Nadia just now. The waiting time under the BTO system, plus the requirement to find a partner first before you can apply, can greatly delay Singaporeans' family formation. Whilst the government has started building flats with shorter waiting time, or SWT, the number of such flats at 2,000 to 4,000 units per year is way too low. The number of citizen marriages in 2023 is over 24,000. We urge the government to more aggressively increase the supply of SWT flats. With young people prioritizing career development and the long waiting time for housing, Singaporeans are getting married later and having children later. These delays can result in fertility issues, compounding the problem. The struggle with infertility is a personal one for me. I tried to conceive naturally for 10 years after getting married to no avail. I sought medical treatment after that, but my body reacted badly to the medications. Thus, my husband and I decided to turn to adoption. It seems like yesterday when we brought our 2 sons home as infants, but they are already 18 and 17 now. I therefore empathize deeply with couples who are struggling with infertility and going through ART treatments like IVF. Such treatments are often especially taxing for women, who may have to endure multiple rounds of medications, self-administered injections, and hospital visits. PSP believes that as a society, we can do more to support couples going through ART. Based on the latest available data, about 10,500 cycles of ART treatments were carried out in Singapore in 2022. This has increased 81% since 2013. Currently, the government provides up to 70% in co-funding for couples going through ART at public hospitals who are under age 40 and have been assessed by a doctor to have met the clinical requirements for ART. The government co-funds a maximum of 3 fresh and 3 frozen ART cycles. The last two co-funded cycles can be completed after age 40 as long as ART or IUI procedures have been attempted before age 40. So before I proceed, I would like to share with the House the experience of Israel. Israel is the only OECD country that is still reproducing above the replacement rate. An OECD report in 2024 found that it has a TFR of 2.9, with Mexico and France in second place at 1.2. Part of this is due to religious reasons, as the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community have many children. But even secular women in Israel have a TFR of 2.0. It is believed that part of the reason behind this is strong state support for assisted reproduction. Israel has the world's highest per capita rate of IVF procedures and fertility clinics. This is because the Israeli government provides full public funding for an unlimited number of IVF cycles for any Israeli woman under age 45 until she has 2 children with her current male partner. It is estimated that at least 2% of the Israeli health budget goes towards funding IVF treatments. This is in stark contrast to our funding policies, which only provides up to 75% co-funding, with stricter age limits and co-funding limits based on the citizenship status of couples and the number of ART cycles. Currently, only couples where both spouses are Singapore citizens are eligible to receive the full 75% co-funding for assisted conception procedures. The government will only co-fund 55% if one spouse is a PR and 35% if one spouse is a foreigner. Transnational marriages now make up 36% of citizen marriages as of 2023. PSP believes we can do more to support transnational couples to start their fertility journey, especially since any child born out of such marriages will be a Singapore citizen by birth. Thus, PSP proposes that all couples can receive up to 75% co-funding for assisted conception procedure as long as one spouse is a Singapore citizen. Next, PSP believes that we can increase the number of ART cycles eligible for co-funding. In a reply to a PQ by Mr. Louis Ng in January 2024, Minister Ong Ye Kung said that the current co-funding limit of 3 fresh and 3 frozen ART cycles strikes a balance between providing public-funded financial support to couples, aspiring to be parents and ensuring the prudent use of public funds by taking into account clinical efficacy. But given that our fertility rates are currently extremely low, we should rethink our approach towards rationing ART cycles and move closer to an Israeli approach to funding. Even if the government provide the maximum $7,700 funding for all 10,500 ART cycles carried out in Singapore in 2022, the total cost to the government would be less than $81 million. The Israeli experience suggests that this would be a worthwhile investment. PSP believes that we should co-fund unlimited ART cycles for women under the age of 40 until they have 2 children who are Singapore citizens. For women from age 40 to 45, we should co-fund 3 fresh and 3 frozen ART cycles. Sir, the PAP government has always prided itself on fiscal prudence. This has extended to the government's financial support for couples facing fertility issues. If we really hope to stop our TFR from declining or reverse the decline, we should rethink the balance between fiscal prudence and supporting couples with fertility issues. Finally, I would like to touch on egg freezing. At the Committee of Supply last year, I called on the government to consider some level of subsidies in public hospitals and allow the use of MediSave for egg freezing. Such financial support is already being extended in countries overseas. Conditions on subsidies can be imposed to prevent abuse. Unutilized frozen eggs can be donated to other couples or used for other purposes like research or education. In a PQ reply yesterday, Minister Ong Ye Kung said that our financing policies for egg freezing are designed on clinical grounds. And from a population policy perspective, the government does not want to inadvertently encourage young couples to delay their plans. So there are many factors involved in having children, including whether a suitable partner is found. Our young people should be given the freedom to decide on their life choices, including marriage and parenthood, based on their own personal circumstances, not pushed into it before they're ready. What we can do is to provide an environment that can help them be ready earlier and support them in their efforts to become parents. I urge the government to reconsider our proposals. Women who choose to go through the pain and discomfort of egg freezing demonstrates strong parenthood aspirations. We should do more to support them, even if it means doing something unprecedented with regard to our health policy. Sir, Mandarin, please. 议长先生，前进党认为，在我国生育率多年来不断下跌的情况下，仅仅继续检讨和更新我国支持国人婚姻和生育意愿的政策是不足够的。我们需要重新思考这些政策，才能充分地支持国人组建家庭，以及扭转或稳定数十年来生育率的下降趋势。所以我们今天对动议提出修正。对于不想生育的国人，我们应该尊重他们的个人选择。但对于希望生育的国人，政府可以采取更多措施来为他们铺路。今天，我和梁文辉先生重申了前进党降低生活成本和降低住屋成本的建议。我们也提议，政府应该加大力度，鼓励雇主以灵活工作安排支持员工，让家庭友好型雇主能得到相对较高的外籍劳工配额。为全职看护幼儿的父母或祖父母提供补贴，提高辅助生殖技术的补贴，以及更好地支持选择冷冻卵子的妇女。我们希望政府能认真考虑我们所提出的建议，重新构想目前的政策，以面对生育率不断下跌的问题。 We hope the government will seriously consider our proposals to lower cost of living, provide employer incentives, more SWT flats, and greater financial support for fertility treatments and egg freezing to support Singaporeans in their parenthood aspirations. I hope all members will support the amended motion.